Okay, so I need to tell you something that's going to sound completely backwards at first. And I get it. When I first heard this, I thought it was nonsense, but stick with me because this one shift changed everything for me. The thing you're chasing, that goal, that achievement, or that perfect version of your life, you don't actually want it. I know, you got to hear me out. What you want is the feeling you think that thing will give you. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind. You can have that feeling right now, today, this minute. I'm Monique Rhodes, and I've spent 30 years learning this the hard way so you don't have to. Let me ask you something. Have you ever achieved the goal? Maybe you got a promotion, or you finally hit that weight, or you bought the thing you'd been saving for. And for about 5 minutes or a day even, you feel amazing. And then what happened? You started thinking about the next thing, the next goal, the next achievement. That feeling of enough just disappeared, right? I used to think I was broken because of this. I'd achieved something I'd been working for months or even years. And almost immediately my mind would end up saying, okay, but what about this other thing? And I'd feel this restlessness, this dissatisfaction that was creeping back in. And for the longest time, I thought the answer was to just achieve more, work harder, maybe get thinner, maybe be more successful. And surely at some point, I would finally arrive at that place where I could just exhale, where I could finally feel like I was enough. But here's what I've discovered. And this is going to sound so simple that you may not believe me. The problem wasn't that I hadn't achieved enough. The problem was that I was making my peace, my happiness, my wellness conditional. So I was saying to myself, I'll accept myself when, I'll be happy when, I'll feel worthy when. And when is a trap. It's always just out of reach. So think about your own life for a second. What are you chasing? Really think about it. Is it money? Okay, but why? What do you think money will give you? Security, freedom, maybe the ability to relax. Is it a relationship? Why? What do you think a relationship will give you? Love, acceptance, the feeling that you're chosen? Is it success, recognition? What's that really about? Validation, proof that you're good enough? Maybe you're chasing the perfect body. What's underneath that? The belief that you'll finally be lovable, and then you'll finally accept yourself. Whatever it is, trace it back. What's the feeling underneath? Because I promise you, that feeling you think you'll get when you achieve the thing, you can cultivate it right now. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Monique, that sounds nice, but I still need to achieve my goals, or I still have real things I'm working toward. And look, I'm not saying don't have goals. I'm not saying don't want things. I have goals. I want things. But here's the difference. I'm not making my happiness conditional on those things happening. All right? So that's a really important thing for you to understand. If you want to know more, love you to come to moniquerhodes.com. There's a happiness quiz there. Click on it. You get a personalized PDF. See where you're at with all of this. The link is in the description. So let me tell you what I see in my work as a happiness strategist. Because I've spent over 20 years working with a lot of people, and some of them are a little bit elderly, and that's taught me so much about life. So I have clients, 2 clients in their 90s who are still waiting. They're still thinking their life will start when this one thing changes. So they're still holding their happiness hostage to circumstances. And then I have clients in their 80s and 70s who have this sparkle, this aliveness. They're curious, they're engaged, they're fully present. Some of them are doing wild things. What's the difference? The ones who are thriving stopped waiting. So they stopped making their happiness conditional. So they embraced life as it is right now in all of its imperfection and uncertainty. The ones who are miserable, they're still fighting reality. They're still insisting that things should be different. They're still waiting for the perfect moment to finally accept their life. And here's what's heartbreaking, right? I have one of my clients who's in her 80s and she complains about her wrinkles. So she compares herself to her 60-year-old daughter-in-law. She's 82 years old and she's still not accepting herself. So that obsession with external things, how we look, what we have, what we've achieved, it doesn't stop unless you choose to stop it. So it doesn't magically resolve when you're older. You just carry it with you year after year unless you make a different choice. So what's the different choice? It's this. Stop waiting. Stop making your happiness conditional. Stop telling yourself you'll be happy when. Be happy now. Be present now. Be accepting now. Be kind to yourself now. And I know that sounds simple, but let me tell you what real freedom feels like. Real freedom is when something that used to terrify you doesn't scare you anymore. So when someone's opinion of you doesn't shake you. When you can look in the mirror at your changing body, your aging face, and feel love, genuine love and acceptance. So real freedom is when you walk into a room and you don't think, what do you think of me? But instead you think, I wonder who I'll meet. I wonder what I'll learn today. That's confidence. Not the fake version of confidence where you're kind of performing confidence and really at the same time you're seeking validation. But real confidence. The kind of confidence where external things don't control your inner state. And how do you get there? You practice. You practice accepting this moment exactly as it is. You practice being kind to yourself when you mess up. You practice letting go of your grip on how things should be. You practice feeling the feelings you're chasing, worthiness, safety, love, right now, before the conditions are perfect. Because here's what I've learned. Life is always going to be uncertain. Things are always going to change. You're always going to age. Circumstances are always going to be imperfect. That's not the problem. The problem is that you think you need perfect circumstances to be okay. But you don't. You can be okay right now. You can feel enough right now. You can love yourself right now. Not when you lose the weight, not when you get a promotion, not when you find the relationship. Now. Now, many of you know that I've worked with a number of people who are at the end of their lives, and let me tell you what they regret. They don't regret not achieving enough. They regret not being present. So they regret spending their whole lives waiting for some future moment to finally accept themselves. So don't do that. Don't wait. Don't forget to come and do the quiz at moniquerhodes.com so I can help you get on that path to happiness. So whatever you're telling yourself, like, I'll be happy when, I'll accept myself when, I'll finally relax when, drop it. That when is stealing from your life. It's stealing your life from you. You know what life is? It's this, right now, this moment. Not the perfect version you're imagining, but this messy, imperfect, uncertain moment. And you've got choice. You can spend your whole life resisting it and fighting it and wishing it was different, or you can soften into it. You can accept it. You can find peace with it. You can allow it to be as it is. One of the things I've learned in all my years of studying happiness is that every time I resist reality, I suffer. Every single time. So when I argue with what is, so when I think this shouldn't be happening, this isn't fair, this isn't what I wanted, I create my own suffering. But when I accept what is, when I work with life instead of against it, that's when everything shifts. And I want to be clear, accepting what is doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It doesn't mean you stop trying or growing or wanting things to be better. But it means you stop making your happiness conditional on things outside of yourself that you can't control. So you've got to find a way to be okay now while you're working toward what you want. To enjoy the journey instead of postponing your life until you reach some imaginary destination that, of course, there is no destination. That's the truth, because we know that once you reach that destination, you're always dissatisfied and you're always working for the next thing. So there's just this ongoing process of being alive, of growing, of evolving. Every year I look back at who I was the year before and I think, wow, I've grown. I see things differently now, and that's a good thing. That means I'm still learning, still evolving. Because we're either growing or we're dying. There's no standing still. And the people who are truly alive, truly joyful, they've embraced that. So they see life as this adventure, this ongoing journey of discovery. They don't need to arrive somewhere to start living. They're living now. So let me ask you again, what are you waiting for? What's the thing you think will finally make you complete, make you happy, make you enough? And what if you gave yourself that feeling right now? What if you chose to believe you're enough exactly as you are? What if you chose to feel safe, even in uncertainty? What if you chose to love yourself, even before you achieve all your goals? What if you stopped fighting this moment and instead asked, what can I learn here? How can I grow from this? What's life trying to show me? That's where freedom lives. Not in perfect circumstances, but in your response to imperfect circumstances. I've spent 30 years learning this. 30 years of chasing things I thought would make me happy. 30 years of, trying to find my happiness in external outcomes. And, I've studied happiness so intensely. I've traveled all over the world, and everything I teach you is what I've learned. One of the major things that finally set me free was realizing I could choose happiness now. I could choose acceptance now. I could choose to be enough now. Not when everything falls into place, but now, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the uncertainty, in the middle of not knowing how things are going to turn out. So there's something else I learned, something that has completely changed how I see difficult moments. When something painful happens, like when you lose something or something doesn't work out or life kind of knocks you over, there's this immediate urge to push away, to say, this shouldn't be happening, or to try to get yourself back to a comfortable place as fast as possible. But what if those difficult moments are actually the doorways? What if that breakdown that you're having is where the breakthrough happens? I'm not encouraging you to seek out suffering, but I'm saying that when it comes, and it will come, because you're human and you're alive, you don't have to run from it. You can turn toward it. You can be curious. You can ask, what is this here to teach me? Some of my biggest growth has come from my most painful moments. The relationships that ended, the goals that I didn't achieve, the times where I fell completely apart. Not because pain is good, but because pain cracked me open. It really showed me where I was clinging, where I was rigid, where I was making my happiness conditional on things that I was not able to control. And in that cracking open, there was a space for something new. There was a space for compassion, for acceptance, for a softer way of being with myself. I used to think that strength meant having it all together, never showing weakness, never falling apart. But real strength, real courage, it's staying present when everything in you wants to run. It's being gentle with yourself when you mess up. It's saying, I don't know when you don't know. So it's being vulnerable enough to be exactly where you are without pretending to be somewhere else. And here's what's beautiful. When you actually stop running from yourself, when you stop trying to be someone other than who you are, you actually discover something incredible. You discover that you're okay right now, just as you are. Not because you've achieved everything, not because you're perfect, but because your worth isn't dependent on any of that. And it never was. You are worthy because you exist, because you're here, because you're part of this whole beautiful, messy, uncertain experience of being human. Right? I'm not talking about pretending everything's fine when it's not. I'm not talking about putting a smile on your face and ignoring your problems. I'm talking about something deeper. I'm talking about finding a ground within yourself, beneath all of the changing circumstances. A place in you that's okay no matter what's happening around you. It doesn't mean you won't feel pain. You will. Doesn't mean you won't have preferences. You will. Doesn't mean you stop caring about outcomes. You don't. But you stop needing those outcomes to be okay in yourself. So you stop making your fundamental sense of worth and safety dependent on things working out a certain way. And the irony is that when you stop gripping so tightly, when you stop trying to control everything, life gets easier. Not because suddenly all your circumstances are perfect, but because you become more flexible. You become more resilient. You become more able to work with whatever comes. I like to think about it like if imagine yourself as a tree, right? And you're in a storm. The branches that survive that storm aren't the rigid ones. They're the ones that bend. They're the ones that move with the wind instead of against it. So see yourself as that tree. Learn to bend. Learn to move with life instead of rigidly insisting it should be different. I want to tell you about something that happened for me. When I was younger, I used to look at my body with so much judgment, so much criticism. You know, as so many of us feel, I thought no one could love me unless I looked a certain way. Right? And even when I got to a place where I was with someone in a relationship who loved me exactly as I was, I still couldn't accept myself. I still looked in the mirror and saw all the ways I wasn't enough. One day it hit me. I'm the one withholding love from myself. Not anyone else, me. I was waiting for my perfect body to be perfect before I would give myself permission to feel worthy. And my body was never going to be perfect. It is a body. It changes. It ages. It gets sick sometimes. It's not meant to be perfect. But I can love it anyway. I can appreciate it for carrying me through life. I can be grateful for all it does for me. I can treat it with kindness instead of criticism. And when I started doing that, when I started offering myself the love I'd been withholding, everything changed. Not my body, my relationship with my body. And that's what I'm talking about. You don't need to change anything externally to feel different. You need to change your relationship with what is. And here's what I want you to understand. Whatever you're struggling with right now, whatever feels hard, whatever you're resisting, that's not the problem. The problem is the story you're telling yourself about it. The belief that it shouldn't be this way. The insistence that you can't be okay until it changes. What if you could find some ground, some peace, some acceptance right in the middle of the struggle? Not because you've given up, not because you're settling, but because you've realized that your peace doesn't depend on circumstances being perfect. Right? Those people that I work with at the end of life, the ones who are at peace, aren't the ones who had perfect lives. They're the ones who made peace with the imperfect lives they've had. They're the ones that have learned to let go, to forgive, to accept, to find joy in small moments, to love imperfectly, to keep their hearts open even when it hurts. They're the ones who stopped waiting for someday and started living today. And that's what I want for you. Not someday, today. Stop waiting for permission to be happy. Stop waiting for everything to line up perfectly. Stop waiting to be thinner or richer or more successful or more anything. Start now. Be here now. Love yourself now. Accept this moment now. Because this moment is all you have. This breath, this heartbeat, this imperfect, uncertain, absolutely precious moment. I don't want you to waste it waiting for something better. This is it. This is your life, right here, right now. You get to choose how you meet it. You can meet it with resistance, with judgment. You can meet it with the belief it should be different, or you can meet it with openness, with curiosity, with compassion for yourself and this human experience you're having. So you can soften, you can breathe, you can let yourself be exactly where you are. And from that place of acceptance, from that place of being okay now, you can still work towards your goals. So you can still grow and evolve and want things to be better. But you're not desperate anymore. You're not grasping. You're not making your entire sense of worth dependent on outcomes you can't control. You're free. Free to be yourself. Free to be imperfect. Free to be human. And that's the gift I wish someone had given me 30 years ago. You don't need to earn your happiness. You don't need to achieve your worth. You don't need to wait for permission to accept yourself. You can choose it right now. So what are you waiting for? Choose happiness. Choose acceptance. Choose love. Not when, but now. Your life is happening. Don't miss it. Encourage you to come do the happiness quiz at moniquerhodes.com. As always, be kind. Take care. Go gently in the world.